Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your call.
And welcome everybody to special edition. I guess we're going to be taking a look at the 2A Patch 2020. First off, let me know how bad the fans are here. I got a bunch of fans going, water coolers and stuff, so there's all kinds of noise. At least it seems like it on my end. But we are kind of screwing around here. I meant to go live with this yesterday. Something came up and we had to go live today, so we're kind of starting off on a scheduling mishap. And we've invited everybody who's participating in the project to show up and jump in, and people are slowly showing up here. What we'll do though is we'll talk about the patch, and then we'll talk about the projects that are involved, and we'll give anybody who is showing up live with us tonight to ask, or give you the opportunity to ask any questions or anything. So just to start introducing people, the patch is a group, or is a project to get 12 different Pro 2A projects, some resources. It's also an excuse for those projects to work together. So we've invited everybody who's participating tonight, and a couple of them have jumped in so far. So first off, we got Clover jumped in first from Texas. Thanks for jumping in.
All right, good to be here. Thanks, Chief.
Right on. And how's that audio? So my fans coming in real loud?
No, it's not that bad, actually.
Okay, thanks. And then we got Mike coming in from Walk Talk America, based out of Nevada, right?
Yep, I'm out of Vegas, man. Thanks for doing this.
You bet. So the patch started last year, and it was a concept to get everybody working together, get a bunch of people working together. Patches are a thing, right? There's lots of different ways that we can get the word out about a project or a concept. There's T-shirts, hats, mugs, all kinds of different merchandise and stuff. Patches have a bit of significance for the shooting community, for the gun community, with military, with police, with hunting, with some outdoor stuff, competition shooting, a lot of things like this, youth sports. You'll get patches as rank or acknowledgement for participation and things. So we've had patches for a long time. I think we can thank the Air Force for going to the hook and loop. They're the ones, I think, that started that whole thing with their uniforms. And what we end up with after a bunch of years of military surplus with Velcro on it and different jackets and hats and things being made with Velcro is sort of a phenomenon where we have a lot of these patches being made with Velcro back. So it's pretty simple to swap them out on a hat or a jacket or a bag or something to personalize it, or keep up with your feelings or mood of the day, I guess. But then also for just keeping like a collection or something displayed, you can get a piece of carpet or a patch panel or whatever and display them on a wall or an office or something. I stick them in the headliner of the cop car. Some cars, the headliner material works good for that. People put them on the doors of their safes. So patches just happen to be a thing that, works well with the community. And since I personally have enjoyed patches for a long time, I've been purchasing them through just about every means available. As a end user, just buying them retail, bought them wholesale before, buying just a bunch of patches from somebody. Eventually we started having our own patches made. We did that through middlemen, and then eventually direct to factories quite a few times, actually. We've done quite a few patches over the years. And it's just something that I happen to have found a decent source. So patches being non-perishable, they're pretty easy to ship, except for style or something. They don't go out they don't go bad. They're not really female or male. Anybody can like patches, and they can be given as gifts, and they're non-toxic. They're pretty decent as far as a marketing thing. or it's just far as a thing to hand out to let somebody know about a project. So with that in mind, we started the project last year with the goal of two things: to get some resources into the hands of worthy Second Amendment projects, but then also to give us all an opportunity to work behind the scenes. So Clover, Tony Simon, Mike from GunTube, who am I missing? A couple of people were in both years, and we'll be able to kind of keep the tradition going of kind of a dual role here, working behind the scenes with 2A organizations, getting people to meet each other and work together, opportunity to collaborate a bit, but then also some hopefully some strategies on how to use the resource that they're getting. I've been explaining a bit of it here, but the whole point of this isn't just to explain the project, it's to have some interaction. We do have quite a few people joining in as we do this live. And that's part of this whole thing, is to explain the project and the steps behind it so that this can be hopefully a learning tool for everybody and inspiration for people if you want to try something. So with that, I'll shut up here. Let Mike and Clover chat a bit if you want, ask any questions, answer any questions, and I'll kind of thumb through the people that are out here and acknowledge them. And then if there are any questions, feel free to throw them at us and we'll start answering them. But I'll quit ranting here. You guys want to chime in? Feel free.
Yeah, I want to jump in here first and say, hey, Mike, I missed, it sucks not having NRA, not getting to get my hug from Mike.
Absolutely.
But I want to ask, since Mike he's the kind of the new guy to the patch batch for this year, or one of them. We got quite a few new guys and new gals, and so I guess I want to pose a question to Mike as to, what is he thinking about this? What is he, what are you expecting, Mike? And are you giving any thought to what you will use your patches for?
It's really interesting. It was on when I got the email, I was honored, right? It was great. Patches is always something that has been on my radar because of SHOT Show and NRA Show and kind of interacting with a lot of the consumers that were interested in Eagle products. Right. Like, I mean, if I had $1 for every time someone came by and they're like, do you have a Bursa patch? And, we never went down that route. So it's kind of cool being part of this now, but through Walk the Talk America, because I know that patches are very popular and people collect them. And it's just a great gift, or a great, whether you're selling it or, giving it to somebody who's a good donor and stuff like that. I think it's an amazing way to kind of get traction and keep the name out there and promote. So I think I'm just excited to actually be part of this. So it never made sense to me, for us, it didn't make sense back in the day.
Well, you guys have the bracelets, of course, and the hat pins. And so it's just adds another dynamic, right? I mean, now, whereas that bracelet or that hat pin, it doesn't necessarily draw the eye. I mean, I know that I get I often get a lot of questions on the bracelet, but but not necessarily the hat pin. And I mean, with this dynamic you're talking about in the area, right, the demographic that we really want to bring awareness to and talk to with especially with your program, you're talking about slapping these patches on range bags, so they're on tables at gun ranges, and maybe even can get a few into the hands of some gun shop owners or something like that too. And I think, I mean, I'm excited to see what that's why I posed the question. I'm excited to see what you're going to do with your organization with the patches, and excited to see potentially the exposure that this may bring. And then something as an organization you might look at continuing into the future with maybe even special edition patches, things you give out as commemoratives for years the organization has been established, or how many people the website has reached, or different things like that, milestones.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's exciting, especially now too that we talk about what the patch means to the 2A community, right? With whether you're putting it on your hat, or you're putting it on your bag, or your backpack, or your jacket. I mean, I've seen them on jackets. We're starting to get in. Walk Talk America's work is just totally transcended into other areas, like our work with the VA. is we're really ramping that up. I just had a call today. I was on an hour-long call with one of the higher ups from the VA. But it just like it's perfect timing for this for us, for Walk Talk America. So I'm definitely excited.
So let's take a second and introduce Walk the Talk America then. So we've got 12 organizations involved, but Walk Talk America is the only one that we've had this year or last year that's involved with, basically anything medical, but mental health and that. So if you would give us a brief intro.
Yeah, basically, we are a firearms. The best way to say it is it was created by people in the firearms industry, people in the gun culture, the 2A culture. We're an organization that bridges the gap between mental health and firearms, right? And we hang out at the intersection of suicide. Like that's our laser focus, but also finding solutions to get people the help they need without fear of consequence or legislation. Bridging the gap to mental health. So our organization just looks for innovative ways to do that, but also work with the mental health community. And at the same time, while we're doing that, it's the perfect way to bring in mental health professionals or people that may have had a stigma against us, right, with being firearms, and kind of educate them in the process of what we do and how safe we are and make them understand. But on the flip side of that too, is we also get an education on that side. So we can by working together, we can come up with some pretty good solutions and alternatives to things that are just absolute crap, like red flag laws. So it's nice. We've come a long way in 2 years. You start something, you never know how it's really going to stick. But I just mentioned earlier that our work with the VA is going to ramp up. We're actually bringing the VA into the gun community. The VA wants to change the way they're perceived and also wants to hear what they're doing wrong so they can fix it. And for far too long, we've had so many vets that have kind of gravitated towards the 2A community for their help and what they need, and also to make a living. So to me, like putting the two together only makes sense. Create a coalition inside the 2A community of all the vets so we can, educate them on what they need, and also get the education back, because things may have changed in the VA for many since they had a disappointing, experience. But that's kind of what Walk the Talk America is, but what we need to understand is it's ours. Like it's by gun people. This is not by somebody else coming outside and creating these. This is stuff that we could like beat our chest and be proud of. So that's Walk Talk America.
Right on. Yeah. So I knew some things from interviews and from being aware, but you educate me on a couple of new things you're doing. It's awesome. I think of it one way is, we've had a core group of people that resist the gun prohibitionists, the people that are against firearms. And when you've got a couple of people having to defend, you're all kind of back to back, and you just you're doing whatever you can. But you guys Walk Talk America is bringing in a wall that's going to that's been a blind spot of ours, and that's obviously suicides are a big part of firearms deaths, and that's always used against us. And if we continue as we continue to ignore it over the years, it gives an opportunity for anybody with a credential, a doctor or a research, credential on their name, the opportunity to come at us and use those deaths against, firearms owners, which may or may not have anything to do with it. But like you say, coming from within the community to deal with this, instead of having to deal with attacks with no resources, attacks from people, again, with doctors and PhDs in their titles, we've got the same from, you're bringing those people to be resources for us. And from our side out, instead of just a completely defensive posture, we're now able to take some of these things head on. I'm a big fan of this whole strategy. It's something that's been completely ignored for a long time. and has just, well, and the sad part is that lives are literally, the result here. But so we're looking at not just defending the attacks on our possessions or our rights, but we're also going to be saving lives, and those lives aren't always criminals or something. These are lives of people that are just going through hard times and ran out of options, and sometimes just need just something at the right time. So making awareness of all that and everything is awesome. As far as go ahead.
I just say I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Right.
So if I could just add one thing though, for far too long, like, and this is for me too, like the gun has always represented two things: freedom and safety to me. But there's no reason why a firearm can't also represent or be a conduit for people to get the help they need when they're in crisis without fear of consequence. You know what I mean? It could be a gateway as well. And that's what we want to do, is change the narrative, because I think a lot of these brilliant, so-called brilliant minds, these doctors, these PhDs, they've never looked at the firearm and tried to think outside the box. Like, if we really want to save lives, like, let's figure out a way. And once again, I think people hear it now. We're done. People know that red flag laws don't save lives. It just makes people not want to go get help or even talk about it. Right. And I think that the mental health side of things, I think they're starting to understand, like, we have to do something different because it hasn't worked. Suicide by firearm is going up. And all these laws they put into place, they just don't work. This is a different look for them. So I think it's, and once again, it's ours. That's the most important thing. Like, they're going, wow, that's a really good idea. Like, I never even thought about that. Well, yeah, if you just stop making us the enemy and you just think logically and use your data, like, we could find all kinds of great solutions. But I'll get off the soapbox. I didn't want to dominate.
No. Like, you're bringing this stuff up because it's awesome. In fact, we've been having some discussions lately, off and on the Daily Gun Show, our nighttime podcast, about similar things. So I think, as you described that, the situation has been up till recently that the gun prohibitionists get to create the debate. They get to create the time and setting of when we're going to have a debate, and they handpick their experts to bring to the debate. So as a physician or somebody who's just impartial but completely interested in this, if their only resource has been to listen to gun prohibitionists, they'd have never been explained some of the successes you've already talked about, are the opportunities you've had to talk to physicians and let them know that there's a stigma as a gun owner, that if you get a whatever the little cloud over your head, that you've talked to a therapist or something, that you're at risk of losing your right to own. And once you explain that to physicians, that opens their eyes. And I think that it's the gun prohibitionists who've exclusively owned this whole area of discussion, and they've framed it so that I think there's probably a lot of physicians who don't really care one way or the other about the politics of it, but they just didn't realize about that. And they might have been going headstrong into a position led by, let's say, mom's demand, and not even realize that it's creating a stress with their potential patients. So what you're doing is not just helping us, but we're talking about the people that are actually suffering here. You're creating a bridge. I don't know if another word to that, but a bridge between those physicians and those people who need them, getting the mom's demand and that element out of the equation completely. And that's got to be beneficial. Right?
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, there's some stuff that's going to be coming out soon too. We're working with emergency medicine doctors. It's crazy when you reframe the way someone thinks about a firearm and also about us, right? Our people. I call it our people because, we're the ones that understand, like, hey, I have anxiety today. It's on, level red. I went to the range and shot off 1,000 rounds. I feel better, right? Gun people understand that. They're like, yeah, man, I get that. It's like, mental health professionals or doctors, sometimes they don't. But we're changing that. And that's the cool thing. It's like, I still need the staunch, like prior from a damn hand guy. Like I'm going to always need those guys out there, you know, like the Majes, but I come at it from a different angle. Walk the Talk America does. It's like, I think if we use all the angles we have, I mean, and especially this window we have right now where all these people have come to the 2A side of things to protect themselves during this time of crisis, this time of craziness. I think that we have a good year before people start attacking us again, which, you know, they will, right? That's just natural. But I think we have a good year where people are just going to leave us alone. So I think this is the time now to really get out there and strike with kind of the positive things that we're doing, you know? So I'm excited about that. What's up, Tony?
Right on. So yeah, let's transition. Tony jumped in and we got closer here. So Tony, 2A for E, what we're doing is introducing the project. So if you would give us a rundown on what 2A for E is, the Minuteman Challenge, diversity shoot.
Okay. Hey, what's up, Mike? What's going on, man? Well, what 2A4E is, second is for everyone is a workshop here in Jersey where we introduce people to the Second Amendment. We introduce people to their Second Amendment rights. We introduce them to Second Amendment advocacy groups. And it's not just new people, it's gun people, because many firearms owners have no idea who their local groups are. And truthfully, as the saying goes, all politics are local. And that's really where you need to start. Usually I catch a bunch of flame from people to go, NRA sucks. I'm like, yeah, okay, the NRA sucks. What do you do locally? So that's one of the things we do as part of our education is actually introduce these people to local Second Amendment groups. It's let people who've never owned a firearm get to know firearms owners and discover, wow, they look just like me. We have blacks, we have Hispanics, we have gay people, we have Asian people, we have lions, tigers, bears, oh my. And everyone's out and they're friendly to people who I guess thought they were going to be abused or attacked. And I'm like, no, it's an open-minded forum where we talk to each other and you can ask all those questions. Is it easier buying a gun than it is to buy a book and all of that stuff? And then we go shoot and we eat food, break bread together, tell jokes, and it just turns into a thing. And I feel we all need to be ambassadors to the Second Amendment. Even gun owners that already own a firearm, but you don't have people in your circle that aren't firearms owners. Well, we're trying to grow your circle and make it into that. With the Minuteman Challenge, what it is just a fun shooting competition designed to get you to come out and bring what you got. So we'll have a mechanical division, which is shooting targets 15 yards on a timer. Bring your lever action, bring your bolt action, bring your pump action rifle, and we can go ahead and have that competition. Then it's pistol caliber carbines. Bring your pistol caliber carbine, no matter what it is, and we'll shoot that on the clock, and we'll give out prizes at the end of the year. Like last year, High Point donated a 9mm carbine that we gave away, and we had a lot of other gear by a lot of other supporters, Timber Creek, Matador Arms. It's to get you to shoot your gun and not just stick in the back of the safe or stick it in the back of, your closet. It's to be a shooter. And so that's those two things. And then, of course, we have the 2A4E podcast, which is the Second is for Everyone podcast, which is just reaching out to people going, this is what this means. Here's a review on a firearm, but I try to keep it in regular people speak so you understand it. Here's our legislative section, which talks about what's happening in politics, not just in Jersey, but around the country. But we try to keep it short because you get beat down with politics sometimes, but I still want you aware of it. If you go to diversityshoot.com on our homepage, we have a way for you to reach your legislator, no matter what it is. I'm talking about from your mayor to your dog catcher to the president of the United States. You can send a letter. We have form letters that you can send out. All of that because we have to get active and be active firearms owners. We also have to be safe firearms owners. That's also why I teach classes. We don't want to be that dude that ends up on the news because you thought someone needed shooting or you shot a family member or you didn't know the law. So we also host that. We work because in New Jersey, we can't have USCCA. We can't have second call defense. All we can have is US Law Shield. So we've worked with them in the past and hopefully continue working with them in the future to get classes to you to know your state's self-defense laws and use of deadly force laws. There's a lot more to being a firearm owner than just going down and buying a gun. And we are trying to make people experience that and understand that. That's what we do at 2A4E.
And you've been doing this for how long?
I've been doing this since 2015. We started in February of 2015, which is hilarious because Maj started Black Guns Matter in February 2015. And I think Mr. Smith, I think his name is Smith, started NAGA, National African American Gun Club or Gun Association, in February of 2015. And none of us knew each other then. But less than a year later, we all know each other. And now it's 2020. And yeah, I call Maj on the phone.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you all did that because now we're in 2020, and obviously, if you were just trying to start something like this right now, it'd be in a whole different situation than 5 years strong with three different. Well, that's just three that you mentioned. There's others, but yeah, three strong organizations that have experience and a Rolodex and seen some things. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys are there. Clover, tell us about CloverTech.
Well, before I do that, if I could play question asker here for a minute. First, I want to say, hey, Tony, what's up, bro?
What's up, Clover? How you been, man?
Well, man, I wanted to follow up and ask Tony sort of what I asked Mike. Now, Tony was in the patch batch last year, and so what are some of the things that you've done with the patches that you received from the last patch batch?
Well, what I did was one of the simplest things, and really, no idea is new. I steal everybody's idea, so if you say it, I'm going to do it. I gave it away to people with personal at events. So if you walked up to me and saw me at Great American Outdoor Show, I think we also had NRA because we got them by then, right? We did NRA event. I gave them away to people that way. I gave them to patrons, mailed it to them when they won stuff on our Patreon. That kind of thing, really. That's what I did with them. I didn't sell them. It was like, thank you for coming out. Thank you for being, a supporter. That's what I used them for.
Now that might seem like short-sighted or something, but I think there's something to that. Like being able to give somebody something that it's unattainable, that's kind of neat. And that's something that I don't know, it's not like a challenge coin. It's not like you're giving them $30, but you can give them something that you can carry around, a handful of them in your pocket. And it's like saying, hey, thanks for going a little above and beyond. And here's something that no one else can get. And it would be great if we had enough resource to be able to do that for everybody, to have like a secret one. But yeah, it's a cool way to have distributed them or to dish them up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Clover, then tell us about CloverTech.
Well, what I've been, I guess probably most everybody out there in the chat is familiar with me, but I've been creating online content for quite a few years, background in IT, of course, which is somewhat irrelevant still today. I mean, if you follow the live streams every Thursday night, I am, and I don't know, I'm going to be conceited saying this, and I know that people on the panel and probably out there in the live chat know that it's not true, but I'm one of the very few people that wants to talk about and really be inclusive when it comes to people turning on their cameras. There's a lot of people that says, we need to talk about this more, we need to do this, but then they don't extend that olive branch. They act high and mighty. They have the feeling of rubbing elbows with somebody that might be beneath them or whatever it might be. And I like to put my time anyway, where my mouth is, not necessarily so much the money, but my time, and do things like the Thursday night chats where we chat about, how to get things done online, how to manipulate certain platforms and work with them to your benefit, and how to get started building websites and just setting up and doing other things. So I'm definitely not platform centric, and G-Webs is kind of scrolling through some of the different things there. If you go to the social media header on clovertech.com, good Lord, I don't know, there's probably 40 different platforms or 30 different platforms that we're own in some way, shape, or fashion. I don't work them all. I don't like Reddit. I don't like Twitter. So you see very little of a presence there, but still we have a presence. And so people can filter back and forth and in between the platforms that they like. As far as a little bit of personal background, I mean, what really got me into and was really the cornerstone and the foundation of my love for working with others within the what I call the creator space is working with youth in the youth shooting sports. And as time rolls on, your kids grow up, and something that was a huge part of your life in that aspect, you still have this this need and this want to interact and help people and learn with people, because sometimes those kids out there on the firing range teach you things you didn't know. Occasionally it happens. And same thing works when working with the other creators and collabing on projects and doing different things. But it just gave me an outlet to kind of transition that part of my life over into the creator space. And then with the creator space, I mean, making videos and doing different things is the most difficult thing in the world. Utmost respect to any trainer out there, any coach out there, obviously, working with new people, and Tony can testify to this, I'm sure, because he does it. It's difficult when you get people to come in. Now, amplify that times 10,000, and that's working with kiddos. So they're all over the place. ADD, whether you buy into the whole, and this, I guess, may go to even some of Mike's stuff, but whether you believe in the whole ADD and the pharmaceutical thing and all this other stuff with kids nowadays, having overzealous, rambunctious kids and hyperactivity and stuff like that in kids is a normal thing. You see it all the time. And so being able to deal with situations like that, and especially being able to see how like Mike was talking about earlier, I mean, I have absolutely seen the therapeutic benefits of shooting sports. And it's amazing. I've seen kids come in. Go ahead.
When you were saying that, I didn't want to interrupt you, but since you brought it up, like I was just going to say, like when you've got a kid with attention issues or something, I would imagine a firearm could potentially be a great tool.
Yeah. Right? Well, and let's not beat around the bush, and let's not make no bones about it. When you first go into that situation, you have to be methodical, and you have to really stress safety, and you have to really have good range officers and coaches and things on the line when you have kids that are that way. It's not something where I don't want to make it sound like it's this miracle thing to where you've got a kid that's bouncing off the wall ADD and you just hand them a loaded firearm and let them go. No. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, setting them down and teaching them the fundamentals. And the fundamentals of shooting sports, especially when you're talking primarily where my background is at, which is in precision stuff. You're really talking about slowing down. You're really talking about, you're gonna monitor that heart rate. You're gonna monitor that breathing. You're really focused on everything. And what I have always taught the kiddos is that, once you learn to get into that zone, there's nothing else that exists in the universe except for you and that target. And there's a benefit outside of shooting sports to be able to get into that zone. Imagine if you're studying for a test, for a big test, a quiz, a final, whatever it might be, and you have the ability to sit down, slow down. It's almost like yoga in a way, yoga with gunpowder, right? And you have that ability to slow down, and it's you, and that's that book in front of you, right? It's you, and it's that whatever that you're trying to learn, and so you're going to absorb that better, right? And so all of that translates over. So you get a situation to where it's not only the physical things with those kids that may suffer from some type of hyperactivity disorder, but it also gets into the mentality thing, because now they've got a way, they understand that they can overcome it. They understand that, hey, I just need to, get in a quiet place with my books, go in my room. It's quiet in there. Nobody's bothering me. I need to get comfortable, however it is, sitting Indian style in the bed, and, I can get this done. And so, fast forward that, like I said, a lot of different elements and things that I do. One of the newest, and it's not really, the brand newest, but the newest thing is, what I call the FUD Life Project. And one thing coming from a a culture and a background in an area where I was pretty much born with a firearm in my hand. I mean, there are pictures in the scrapbook at my mom's house of me with cap guns and BB guns back before I could even remember. I don't even remember my first live fire activity with a real firearm. I was that young. A lot of people are in their 20s and 30s and or even teens, and they remember that, and I don't. I remember some of them, but I don't remember the very first time. I can remember being 8 years old and squirrel hunting on my own on family property at 8 years old. So it's always been a part of my life. And what gets me is I started seeing, as I worked within the community, the creator, helper, and aspect. And I know I'm going on and I'm taking more time than Mike and Tony combined, it feels like here. But as I moved forward with reaching out and networking and with other colleagues, right, within this great community that we've got, because make no bones about it, I mean, we're all colleagues. We all have the same end goal here. Then I realized that this person doesn't like this person, and this person doesn't like that person, and there's a lot of rifts going on and a lot of different things. And one of those is the word FUD, right? So I created what I call the FUD Life Project, and it's something that it's near and dear to my heart because I look at it as a recovering alcoholic type syndrome. You get most people that they have a problem with booze and they never tell you. They'll say, hey, I'm 10 years sober, or they'll, something like that. They don't ever really say that they was an alcoholic. They're a recovering alcoholic most of the time. And so I use that same thing that, I'm still a FUD. I'm just a recovering FUD. Right. And it's okay. It's okay to be that way. And then I take it a step further that this whole idea that people want to point fingers and say, you're a FUD and you're a FUD and you're a FUD because we're not. And Mike hit on a great point earlier that fits into this mold is, it's this goal that we have of protecting, preserving, and everything, our Second Amendment rights, is one that if you peel it back and you look at it from a joint chiefs of staff strategy table, in a war, it's got all these different components and elements, right? And this unit over here in a totally different branch has really no idea what this unit over here is doing. There's communication eventually up the chain, obviously, but the units themselves don't necessarily know that each other exists, but yet they're all working together, doing different things for a common goal, right? And so what happens with us, reverse that back to the 2A fighter, the 2A community, and what happens is a lot of times, personal issues, or maybe this guy over here doesn't like AR-15s, maybe this guy over here doesn't like shotguns, maybe this guy over here doesn't like combat style rolling across the hood of a car training. Maybe this person over here, he's just into shooting sports or whatever it is. Second Amendment affects us all, regardless of race, color, creed, or anything else, and especially regardless of what caliber we carry, right? It affects us all. So, let's dial that back and let's look at that. So if you're calling me a FUD because I prefer, duck hunting with a shotgun as opposed to flipping around the hood of a car with an AR-15. Well, then what's the difference if you don't care about duck hunting with shotguns? All you care about is flipping around the hood of a car with an AR-15. Well, that makes you a FUD. That just makes you a FUD in a different sense. So it's this thing where, we all have the capacity to be a FUD, and that's okay because that's the idea of individualism. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. People got up in the middle of the night, loaded their wagons, and settled the freaking West because they wanted something different. And there was thousands or millions of people that thought those folks were crazy for trying to trek the, Rocky Mountains or, cross the hot plains of Texas or whatever it might be to get to the West. But had they not done that, think about where this country would be. Think about if nobody headed west, nobody ever crossed the Mississippi, what this country would look like nowadays, right? It was a historic thing, and it was people being an individual and saying, look, taking it upon myself to pull up my bootstraps and go this direction. I love you guys over here, but for the greater good, we're going to go settle this area over here. and they got it done. And so there's nothing wrong with that. It needs to be celebrated, and we need to understand that's not a bad thing. And that's long story short. I know it's too late. That's the Flood Life Project.
Right on. It's interesting to have you explain it because obviously it's evolved a little bit since you created it or whatever. But it's an interesting summary of the direction of it. But like you kind of ended at the end there, specialization or whatever it would be, like just focus on one area interest. Yeah, what's the difference if, like you say, if it's duck hunting or squirrel hunting or if it's IPSC shooting? I know competition shooters that do nothing else with their firearms except competition shooting. It's very similar, right? Or somebody that's a collector or an investment person that never even pulls the trigger.
Yeah, and look at Kim Rhodey, who is, gold medalist shotgunner, right? Olympic gold medalist shotgunner. And, she's in court battles and everything else now with some of the California regulations and stuff like that. Why? Because, it's shotguns and it's, double barrel, whatever, the most rudimentary shotguns that you could possibly think of, right? And yet there is Second Amendment infringement implications even on her at the Olympic level. So, and I think hers has more to do with ammunition restrictions and stuff. But regardless, it's Second Amendment infringements that are affecting the most rudimentary firearms that you could possibly own. So when you step back and you think of this, nobody's wanting to take your guns type thing, and nobody will take my shotgun. Well, yeah, okay, they may not take the shotgun, but look at Kim Rhodey. They're taking her shotgun shells. So what's the difference?
That's one of the problems. That's one of the problems I ran into, is that divisiveness that Clover was talking about. It doesn't affect me, so why should I get behind fighting for it? I'm not a tactical Timmy. I don't roll over a car hood. I collect guns. I don't care what they do until they start coming for some of your collector firearms that are 75, 100 years old. Then all of a sudden you want someone to fight for you. When they make it raise the age of hunting or raise the age of firearms ownership, and now you have to be 21 to own anything, and they want to raise it even higher, it affects us all. And that's one of the things with the diversity shoot and everything we do. It's like, regardless of the firearm you own, you need to be in on this standing up for your rights. You need to be in on this activism. You need to be standing here. Even if you don't own a firearm, you must understand that this is a civil right that you need to fight for, because it's for your own benefit.
Well, and you're right, Tony. And another thing that, and I didn't mention this in my big, huge monologue, but what you're saying there brings it up, is something else that annoys me. It's not just that, I'm not into that, so I don't care about it. It's also, I don't live there, so I don't care about it. Right? How many times do you hear somebody say, well, you just need to move out of California, or you just need to move out of New Jersey? No. We need to be helping you fight in New Jersey, Tony. We need to be helping those people fight in California and Washington and Oregon and Chicago and all of these other places.
Well, one of the things that annoy me is that whole free state, slave state mentality that, well, if you live in a slave state, give up hope. I'm like, you understand, every time these people have success, they just drag this to the next state. If they lost in Jersey, if they lost in New York, if they lost in California, then they wouldn't have pushed stuff into Nevada, into Connecticut, into Maryland, into Delaware. Wins give them energy, and we need to shut them down. And that's really what happened in January in Virginia. I mean, I watched that swell up from November of last year until January of last year, right during SHOT Show. I watched the people. Of course, I'm from Virginia. So I watched that, and I watched it grow from county to county, from township to township. And they crushed, and people of all races came out until they had 50,000 people standing in downtown Richmond. My brother lives in Richmond. He was like, dude, it is crazy here. Every street is packed. He was like, he said, matter of fact, I packed the family up and we went to Norfolk for the weekend because it was ridiculous in Richmond. So that's what we have to do. That's the kind of motivation we need. That was a win. And G Webbs and I were talking about this the other day, talking about the number of Second Amendment rallies around the country that were happening until COVID hit. I mean, we had a huge list all over the place because of this. Wins give you energy, and we have to start winning again. We have to start fighting. And there's a significant portion of us, plus what, 19 million background checks were done since January. There's a lot of people out there that never owned a firearm before and need Second Amendment advocacy to become a thing they're aware of. And it's our job to do it. Every gun owner needs to be an advocate at this point. Every gun owner needs to be an ambassador for the Second Amendment. So calm your tits with the whole 9 versus 45, 40 Smith & Wesson bullcrap or AK versus AR. Still have your fun, but understand there are people that don't understand that fun and just see it as kind of craziness and don't want to be attacked on the forums and don't want to be attacked online. So check yourself, because you never know what these people had to go through to get to that point.
True. They're going to hopefully get up to speed and figure it out. It's not like we're bringing the Amish on board or something, but yeah, I hear you. You guys went through a lot of neat stuff there. We were we've just been introducing projects here, and I think we'll just go ahead and keep introducing projects, even though some of the representatives aren't here. But yeah, I just wanted to throw something in when you guys were talking about, not mine. Black powder is unregistered guns without serial numbers that don't need ammunition, that you can create ammunition for. So they're easily they could easily focus in on that. Any kind of rifle that can take any kind of game animal is a sniper rifle, so they could easily go in on that. Any handgun is carried around and hidden, so they always want to go after handguns. Shotguns can't be identified, by ballistics, and they're too short and blah, blah, blah. So they're going to go after every type of gun. There's nothing that we can own that they can't figure out an angle. So there's no one that's quote unquote safe. I just want to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm. And just on the black powder front, I've gotten back into that more so than before. Every one I've got has a number on it. Now, is those numbers, do the ATF have access to them and blah, 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 blah? No. Can the government seize those numbers from manufacturers and whatnot? Potentially, yes. And of course, there's no tracking through FFLs and things like that, but they are numbered. A vast majority of black powder barrels and things are numbered.
Probably more for production, so they can keep track of this batch.
It is, but at some point, you get where I'm going with this. At some point, if they are numbered and the company does have records, then what can be done if, like you say, somebody decided we're going to go after this? The mechanism to track is already in place.
See, the bothersome thing, and the thing I try to talk to people about black powder black powder is obsolescent. I don't know. We're getting into meaning of words, but it's still effective. We actually had a class called Black Powder Matters. And the whole thing was to introduce people to black powder as a fun thing, but also as a means to work your way through gun control laws in your state. See, Jersey is jacked up. Right now, they have 30 days, supposedly, that they have to approve us and for a firearms purchase permit to allow us to own a gun. But they play games. And I'm like, so if your life is in danger, your life is in legitimate danger because you know the threat, you know their name, let's say ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, whatever, it said they're going to come to their house and blow your head off. And you've been trying to get a firearm through every means that you can, and the system is holding you up because that's how Jersey's set up. You can go into Pennsylvania, buy a black powder revolver for like $220, get the accoutrement to go with it, and actually have a firearm to be able to defend yourself with until that pistol purchase come in. Or, you know what I'm saying? Yep. It's still as effective as it's still effective as a person stopper today as it was in 1865. And you don't have to go through the paperwork to get it.
Just because the better stuff doesn't make it any less effective than it ever was. Yeah, actually, they're probably more reliable and made better, I'm sure, than they used to be.
Keep your powder and your primer dry. That's the biggest thing.
Well, that was one of the things about the class, because I was actually talking to one of the guys that has like all the black powder certs from the NRA. He has everyone. They had to make up a couple for him, and he was going to teach the class. And I asked him point blank, how is this as a self-defense firearm today? And I was talking about New Army, Remington New Army clone, which is a revolver, 44 caliber, 145 grain bullet, pretty much at like 850 feet per second. He was like, one, you keep it in a dry, warm place. It's effective as any regular cartridge handgun. The other thing is that round is going to hit unlike anything made today because it's nothing but lead, and it's going to flatten out and just be bad news to whoever gets hit by it.
Yep.
And that was pretty cool, and that's why we decided to have the class, just to teach people this is effective. It's just not modern.
Yep.
Right on. So we've been introducing projects, and Jared just jumped in. So Guns and Gadgets, hardest working dude on YouTube, at least for 2A. And
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Jared.
So
Sorry, I'm a little late. It's been a crazy couple days for this house. Sorry.
Oh no worries at all. It's a crazy year, obviously, and I don't, just so people know, I kind of put out an email to say, hey, would you like to be on board? But I didn't ask anybody, hey, are you ready for this, or did you want this to happen? I just dropped this on everybody. I figured this out last year that there's no perfect time for 12 people. There's 12 times less opportunity for there to be the right time. So I appreciate everybody's even being able to put attention towards this, because again, it's a kind of project out of nowhere, and it's not necessary, but hopefully we're getting some stuff accomplished, both with the group, with the audience that's helping it happen, and then behind the scenes. So anyway, we're kind of introducing projects. So if you would, tell us about Guns and Gadgets, where you come from, what your goals are, and what all of you have accomplished. You've done amazing stuff.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Where I come from, I grew up in the projects of Worcester, Mass., which is, for those who aren't familiar with New England, it's smack dab in the center of Massachusetts. Worcester is the second largest city in all of New England. Grew up poor, broke, in the welfare lines with cheese, and mixed my own peanut butter, and grew up in the projects around crime a lot, and got to see the importance of things we take for granted a lot, I guess. I became a police officer and have been for 23 years, although that career might be coming to an end. But I've always been somebody who had a knack for reading law and understanding what it really meant, because they're written in Old English, which is, history. But I guess I'm a law nerd. I've just studied it so much, had to study it, and as a result of my career and knowing the laws and stuff, I've met a lot of people who have gone on to pretty impressive careers and work, Capitol Hill or here in Massachusetts in the government here. And I was always the kind of person people would ask, hey, is this firearm Massachusetts compliant? Or if I put this stock on this shotgun, is it legal? And then one day I just did a video. I started talking about Second Amendment law and infringements. And what I tried to do was to try to get everybody on the same page. Like what's going on in New Jersey and affecting the folks in New Jersey. The people in Montana have no clue about it, but what works in New Jersey will eventually make its way to Montana and Illinois and everything else. So I just tried to just make people aware of what's actually happening in the states, no matter where it is, whether it's good. I always say good, bad, ugly, or indifferent related to the Second Amendment, so that we can all be well informed and all be on the same page, because they're using our divisiveness against us. The fact that we're not all, I like to say, on the same team or in the same boat rowing in the same direction. They pick us apart. They really do. Just taking the red flag law. Look how that took off. So my goal on the channel is to make people aware of what's going on, where it's happening, and more than that is to how we can stop it. Whether it's calling and talking to legislators, showing literally. I was just texting my state senator and my state rep as I was walking downstairs. You just have to talk to these folks, and we can stop laws from happening. We can stop bad laws in their tracks. And it's even more important now after the current Supreme Court just turned their backs on us. We had 10 cases. It was actually 12 cases total, but 10 that they just wiped out because they didn't feel like talking about it. And that has given a shot of caffeine into the anti-gunners movement right now. So it's even more important now with that happening that we stop these bills in the legislature before they make it to the governor's desks or to the president's desk. So that's kind of the theme of the channel. I sprinkle in reviews like everybody else. When I started the channel, it was, guns and gadgets. It was going to be, gun reviews and gadget reviews, but the Second Amendment infringements are kind of close, near and dear to my heart. So that's kind of what I focus on. But other than that, man, it never stops. Sometimes I do one video a day, sometimes 3 or 4, depending on how busy it is nationwide. But I'm very honored to be part of this program. It's nice to meet the 2 guys here tonight, Tony and Mike, that I haven't met before. And I hope we get to do some good things together.
Yeah, right on. So, yeah, it's hard to, when especially being put on the spot. Like I say, I never asked anybody if you're ready for this project or whatever. I just said, hey, you want to be part of it, and then let's go. So jumping in and having give yourselves description of your own projects is never fun. But I gotta tell you, Jared, by you giving me faith again in YouTube, getting yourself to 259,000 subscribers, and that's not on, you do reviews or whatever, but that's not on your AR reviews or nothing like that. That's based on your what do you call it? Like you've got a, what's the word? Like you got a Rolodex of people that bring you info, and then you get it out there. And that is what people have been looking for. And you can't artificially create that. You can't, we could, for years, we wished that people would be that interested or care that much, but I don't know what it is. You either have the voice or the format or the, more than likely, the consistency, but also, the intent and then the follow through to have created a phenomenon that's unique. There's nothing like it on YouTube. And while people have attempted to do it in the past, no one has had the longevity or the fortitude to do it and to keep doing it. And you've not only done it, but yeah, you've succeeded. And again, we would be in a different place today if it weren't for your reach with 350,000 people. I can't imagine too many of those people don't give a shit. Some of them might not, but that's a bunch of people that actually care, and you're getting that valid info out to them. Doing awesome. I mean, I'm so glad that you're in the project so that we can help you get some resource. And again, talk to these guys. Imagine what the world's going to be like when, the DC project and Jared team up, or Liberty Doll and Tony team up. It's going to be a better place. We're all strong people. And yeah, this is awesome. I'm just so happy to be able to be helping it happen. But I don't know. Do you guys want to help me introduce some of these other projects that haven't showed up today or weren't able to? Like I say, I was supposed to be doing this yesterday. I got done telling everybody for a week that we were going to do this yesterday, and then ate a bad burrito and had to do it today. So
can I tag in real quick and ask, first of all, hey, Jared, what's up, bro?
Hey, buddy, how you doing, man?
Can I ask Jared the same question I asked Mike, since Jared is one of the new ones in the project, which is what are you thinking about, as far as ideas and using these patches? Because we're here, of course, because of the 2A patch batch that's going on over on Indiegogo, and I'm sure G's got links and whatnot out there for that. But yeah, what are some thoughts going through your head? Have you been thinking about what you're going to use these patches, how you're going to use them in your projects and reaching out?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. I really haven't settled on a way, because every time I think of, that's what I'll do, I fall asleep, and then I wake up like, I can do it for this. I'm definitely going to have some, try to keep them on my person, so that when I get to meet somebody and feel like there's a connection there and get them interested in what it is that we're all trying to do, that'll definitely be a way for me to help reward somebody for, showing an interest in the Second Amendment, or I got stopped yesterday. I was at a gun shop. And it's weird. You start to get recognized now. I'm still not used to that. But, the guy said, hey, man, because of you, I started voting. And because of you, I talked to my representatives. I mean, I would absolutely love to throw him on, hey, man, here's something that nobody else has. So that's kind of the direction I think I'm going to go to make it something special. Because like anybody, you can get a shirt or a sticker. I mean, we all have merch and stuff like that nowadays. But this is going to be something that's special. So I'm going to try to do something a little more intimate. Because I think it would mean that much more to the person.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for asking that, Claire. It's good. consistent.
What did I get? A D or a C? How did I do?
I don't think anybody's got a perfect answer. So it's all going to be what we can come up with. And, you know, I guess without getting into too many paths or whatever, putting the cart before the horse too many times, we can potentially do like a border color switch, even a color switch if we really need to. So, for example, and you know, do a portion of them so that you can hand them out with a different color background or something, and then have the rest to use for another project. So we can talk about that kind of stuff. We'll have a couple of sessions like this live during the project. I guess we should talk more about the project. It ends this month. It'll end in 17 days. So please help us share the project. I personally don't use Facebook at all, so I could always use help getting the word out there on Facebook. I don't use Twitter very much. Like Clover said, we've all got our preferences. So if you can help us get it out on the different platforms, that's great. But anyway, the project will run for a couple weeks here. We'll have a couple more live chats like this. And like I said, part of the ulterior motive here is to get people connected and working together behind the scenes and collaborating and sharing ideas. So we'll have a couple of off-air chats too, but we'll have opportunities to come up with ideas. But so that we're not neglecting anybody, we've got a really cool list this year of participants. Two of them, though, specifically are huge, and it's just going to be tough, I think, to get like a representative. So the DC project with 50 ladies that go to DC. Obviously, they have the Diana who runs it, but you know, a lot of people involved there. And then the Connecticut Citizens Defense League is again a large organization, a lot of people involved. So I'm not sure, you know, how we're gonna, but that's part of the fun, is trying to figure out how to deal with large organizations. Obviously, we've got individuals who it's a lot easier to deal with. Of course, schedules and everything is always fun. But do you guys want to help me out, and somebody want to introduce DC Project so that, well, we'll mansplain it, but so that I don't have to mansplain everything?
Hello?
Somebody?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. No, I was having some internet connection problems. DC Project is an awesome project. I stumbled across it actually when I met Diana Mueller. If you don't know Diana, she's a retired law enforcement officer from Tulsa. And when she retired, she's also a competitive shooter, a professional competitive shooter. And she decided to take on this meeting her representatives. It happened. She went and met her representative in DC and spoke to him and found out that, well, a lot of these guys only have a position on gun control because they've met Mom's Demand, or Mom's Demand has gone to their state level office. And she was like, well, we need to get pro-gun moms in here and actually talk to these people, pro-gun women, and actually talk to these people and explain to them what's going on. So she went around finding one person, one female per state that's willing to actually go to DC a couple of times a year and actually talk to the legislators and on all levels, and just speak to them and talk about the Second Amendment and how, you know, the laws are unfair. The laws are biased against women, biased against minorities. Talk about the good that firearms do in their communities and can do for people. And that's how it took off. It was funny because she said she just lost a person in Jersey. I live in New Jersey. So I went around trying to find someone for her, and she ended up hooking up with Teresa in Jersey, who's a Second Amendment advocate. She's a lawyer. She has cert to argue in front of the Supreme Court. And she is our representative on the DC project. And that's great. Because it's a collection of women that get things done, that many of them are Second Amendment advocates on the state level anyway. And this steps up, and now they're part of a national thing. And I was with Dan in Vegas during SHOT Show, and they came up with a new thing now. They want to do DC Project on the state level in every state. So they can bring in people from different districts, counties, and they can go to their state house and actually talk to the legislators there. Because again, all politics are local. You talk to the people on that level, all of a sudden certain laws start changing. Once you get politically active and get the moms involved, people know financially. Women make a lot of the buying decisions. Well, if your wife does not want you to have a gun in the house, more than likely you won't have a gun in the house. And these women get behind that, and I think it's amazing. And I'm glad they're part of this project.
Right on. Yeah, awesome description. I don't know if anybody want to add. I mean, there's so much to talk about with DC Project. Such a cool thing. So I'll just throw in there. The goal of the patch batch is to get each of the participants, each of the 2A organizations, some resources, and that means 100 patches for them to do what they want. So we're going to have, it usually takes about 200 something people to make that happen. So that means we're going to be buying like 300 patches. 200 of them go out to the people that made the project happen. The remaining 100 go out to the different organizations. DC Project this year is going to get 250. So, we're all aware that they're getting a bunch more because they've got such a massive organization, such a different concept. But anyway, aside from that, like I said, Tony did a great way describing it there. But I mean, there's just so much implication, I guess, so much potential with this organization that, again, I can't wait to see, especially after this year. We've got such a weird situation, such an opportunity. Can you imagine what it would have been like if we didn't have DC Project already existing? Like if those ladies weren't already as awesome as they are and like coordinated and like a team, holy moly! Like we've got such a thing. And the thing is, if you listen to, let's say, Instagram, or you just listen to Twitter, you just listen to YouTube or Facebook, I think you might be missing some of this because while they're out there a lot, I don't think they're as known as they could be. So yeah, I'm really digging the opportunity for us all to help get the project introduced out there, and then what the opportunity be once all those ladies start to talk about everybody else's projects and are aware. I mean, it's really, really neat. Anyway, anybody else want to throw in on the DC project?
Let me just throw in something. When Diana was speaking in front of the House Judiciary Committee, when she was on television, she mentioned Walk Talk America, which was amazing because I think it was at that moment that kind of got me to the White House. So no one at the White House could tell me how I actually got there, but I think it had a lot with her actually saying, kind of that gun owners care. We're doing something. There's organizations out there, and she just started rattling off some great organizations. But I didn't even know her, but I was fortunate enough for her to scream out and Walk to Talk America, what they do, and it was pretty awesome. So it kind of just goes back to what this whole project is about, is helping each other. Diana helped me tremendously, and I'd never met her, talked to her. You know what I mean? So that's a perfect example of somebody that, I love the fact that we have the DC Project on here.
Well, yeah. I want to, as far as speaking to DC Project, I mean, there's two things that come to mind that's amazing, and it's not even really about what's been said so far is, that's the big thing. But, diversity is a word, no offense to Tony out there, but diversity is a word that gets thrown around a lot and has been recently, right? And you could put DC Project in the dictionary next to the definition of that. It's amazing at the culmination or the combination, whatever you want to call it, of the women that's involved. I mean, every spectrum of race, political preference, whatever you name it. I mean, religious preference, whatever is represented in that group. And what's amazing about it is you've got to, and it speaks to why they're so diverse. I go back to SHOT Show and some of the ladies with DC Project that kind of took my wife, who's kind of getting her sea legs with content and other stuff. And she hung out with them and did things with them. And they were just were so welcoming with her, right? That it's this attitude that, as long as you believe in freedom and liberty and the Second Amendment and holding politicians accountable and, all of the things go down the list of their mission statement or whatever it is, then you're welcome. It doesn't matter who you are.
It was funny because when they had Fiocchi ammunition, they had a thing there for the DC Project that Diana put together, and they had many of the women come out and they had their shirts on. And I'm at the event and I'm looking around going, there's 50 women represented here, and I know 25 to 30 of them personally, and the rest I'm gonna get to know. And it's like there's some of the most amazing women, like Beth Alcazar, like you know what I mean, like Tiffany Johnson, like Gina Roberts. dude, they're all over the place. Black, white, just this, and it is actually the word diverse is used like it's supposed to be. It's like everything all over the spectrum. Not there are two black people there, so they called it diverse. Good to go. No, it was
You guys are missing
everybody.
the other side too, because there's all kinds of shooters in there. There's competitive shooters, there's hunters, there's collectors who are probably owns a gun shop, right?
Yeah.
There's kids.
Mhm.
There's old people.
Yeah,
There-
that's what I'm saying. There's no. We talk about whoever mentioned it with the divisions, and I think it was
Probably-
Jared, and
probably-
how they want to divide us and put us in these boxes. No matter which way you try to divide the DC project, there's representation within the DC project. You can't think of any identifier that's not represented there. It's crazy.
Well, there's one, but that's fine because we've been represented way too
Well,
much.
dudes, but I mean, it's yeah, I get it. And that's not exactly true because as Tony just pointed out, he was at the DC Project thing at the Fiocchi booth.
They bring token booth babes with them.
Yeah, from planet Sexatron or whatever.
It's Lovetron. Get that right.
Lovetron, there you go.
And if you want Lovetron gear, you can go to diversityshoot.com and pick it up. But it was funny because Rob Pincus and I were the two guys there, and we are like, I guess we're the eye candy. I don't know. But, of course, Rob is the best dressed dude at SHOT. It looks like he's going to court. But he's been married 18 times, so he might be on his way to court. But
I'm sorry, guys. Just to say one of the other things that is key on what the ladies are doing is so many times when I get a bill that's hot and heavy, and I call out of state and talk to other legislators, like last year with Virginia, when I was calling down and talking to reps in Virginia, one of the things that is a common theme when gun control is pushed on an area is, well, we've heard from 55 of these people who want this bill. We haven't heard of anybody who doesn't want it. And to get people talking on our behalf that are utilizing firearms for whatever, sport, self-defense, whatever, to actually get that point of view, front and center is key. And the ladies are starting to understand that they are the most valuable players in the Second Amendment going forward, because the Bloombergs and the Soroses are just, they don't seem to think that the women are a big part of it because they don't value them as much if you follow them throughout history. But the ladies, those of you out there watching and listening, you guys are so important to the future of the Second Amendment. You are the MVPs, you just don't know it. So the more that you can get involved, get them out shooting, get them talking, unfortunately, to politicians, the better off we're going to be in the long run.
100% correct.
I put it in here in the description of the thing, is that they are literally the future of 2A. The good news is I think some of them realize it, and they're realizing it as they have these experiences as you described, right? Yeah, awesome. Let's start talking about the Connecticut Citizens Defense League. Obviously, the DC project is awesome, and we could talk about it. I mean, that's going to be one of the challenges. We have, if you'll notice, a list. Some of the people here would be what you consider somebody who interviews, and then others would be people that get interviewed. The DC project is going to be such an opportunity here. We just have 19 days, but at least we'll get something started and maybe give them some idea of how to, create some sort of infrastructure to have representatives reach out and stuff. But if somebody wants to jump in and talk about Connecticut Citizens Defense League.
I've done a couple things following some of the stuff that they've done in Connecticut. It's literally, Connecticut's probably a mile and a half behind my right shoulder. They're what they do. I mean, they're like in Massachusetts, they're fighting a tough uphill battle. Connecticut is far from gun friendly, but they are the grassroots organization in Connecticut fighting the fight. They need your help. If you live in Connecticut, join them. First off, I always say in my videos, support those who support you, and the people who are out there, suing on your behalf or fighting on your behalf when they're not given, gun permits and all that stuff. CCDL is usually out there on the forefront. So it's going to be nice to hear what they have to say when they can join us, because I know the things that I've been watching, they're fighting the fight. It's just they're behind the Iron Curtain like we are up here in Massachusetts. So they're going to need all the help they can get.
And when gun shops and ranges and stuff are closed, that makes it even tougher. What I remember about the Connecticut Citizens Defense League is that first rally in DC, November 2nd of 19 last year, they came down in mass. They came down in a group. They came down with a bus, and they all had T-shirts on. And I thought that was pretty cool to show up as a state level organization to the event like that.
I know this is about the patches, but also think about this. When you have someone behind enemy lines, like the group in Connecticut, our group, one of our groups in New Jersey Second Amendment Society, actually went up there and worked with them to learn how they run their stuff, and then brought that back here. Understand, when we had that rally in DC, we brought together a cadre of people that were serious enough about Second Amendment advocacy to come together in DC in October, I think it was, or September, I forget when it was, but November, that's when it was. All of us got together and came down and spread the word and networked. And we have to keep that going. That shouldn't be a thing that we just do that date, especially now with the technology we have to actually speak to each other. We have to work together. We have to use tactics that work. We have to translate it and move it into our own state and start this fight. So yeah, supporting this supports those groups. And those groups are like throwing a rock in a lake. It has a ripple effect. It spreads out from actually helping here to helping in other places that you didn't even think it happened. We met a group there. No, Mike wasn't with us at that time, but Kevin Dixie and Carrie, what the heck is Carrie's last name? Carrie Sloan from We the Female. They hosted a breakfast that day. We walked from the townhouse they rented to the actual rally. But the people at the breakfast that day have gone on to do Second Amendment advocacy work, to start movements. The whole, 1776, he did a, just one day, we picked a day and everybody wrote their legislators nationwide. That kind of thing is how we need to get together and work this. So please, if you can support the project, awesome, because we have a lot of great members and we can all learn from each other, lean on each other, and network with each other.
And another reason I picked Connecticut Citizens Defense Leagues, we wanted to have a state level organization. Last year we had Florida Carry. Except the problem is I know Florida Carry. It's 4 guys and I know them all. So I said, hey, you want a patch? They said, yeah. And we got a patch made, right? Connecticut Citizens Defense League's a bigger organization. But they didn't, on their website at least, they didn't have a patch. All they had was shirts and things. So I figured giving them a piece of whatever merchandise like this that was in a different realm or whatever might be useful. Turns out they do have a patch. They have a sewn patch, but they only give it to people with part of the membership kit. So it's not something you can just buy. So there's another, I guess, way of using the patch, or something as a, I don't know, indication of a level of membership or something. Moving on to the next one, at least in the list we got them in the order we got them, would be Skip. Somebody want to tell us about Skip?
Can I mention CCDL just for a second, even though I don't have any personal experience. I've got, and G-Webs knows who I'm talking about, of course, but we've got some mutual friends that are part of CCDL, and just in conversations with them and hearing them talk and how committed they are. I mean, they're in the legislature up there for hearings and everything all the time. So just from the people I know that are involved in that organization, they do work extremely hard, to stave off the attacks. And I think that speaks to how vigilant that we need to be. If we've got people because several here have already mentioned how, Connecticut is behind enemy lines in a way, and yet you've got these people working so hard at it, right? So we do have to stay vigilant.
Yeah, you're talking about Cycle Camp, and yeah, if that guy is solid, like there's 100% legitimate dude working, and if his recommendation of CCDL was enough for me to, it went right to the top of the list, really. There's other organizations out there that are awesome. The Goal, Georgia Carry, Ohio, right? Buckeye. There's tons of good ones. But Cycle Camp and his enthusiasm, I guess, like dedication to the group, shows us how awesome this group's got to be. And I can't even fathom, honestly. It's easy to say, but I just can't. I don't know what it would be like to live in Connecticut. I just cannot even imagine. I don't think I've ever even driven through Connecticut. So I can't imagine being in Connecticut and being pro-gun to the level where you're in an organization where you're, you know.
I can give you a hint. It sucks.
I go and stand right I live on the corner of Mass, Connecticut and Rhode Island, literally. I go and stand on where the three states come together every now and then. I go, ooh, look, I'm in Connecticut. Ooh.
Bro, I mean, and I'll go ahead and tell you, because some people don't get it. How's this? Every time you leave the house with a firearm, you worry that you could get locked up, even if you're complying with the law, because, well, the police don't know all the laws, and, well, they arrest you first and we'll figure it out later. You worry about things like your magazine becoming illegal overnight. And that's what they did to us.
What happened? He froze?
Am I frozen or is he frozen?
Okay, he froze.
No, he's frozen.
All right. At least he looks good.
Oh, Tony, if you can hear us, you're frozen. You froze up. Let's jump over to Skip then. Somebody want to tell us about Skip? Does anybody know Skip?
No, I met her the other night, first time when we were talking together.
Right on. Clover?
Did I get lost again?
There you go.
You got stuck there. You're back now, Tony.
All right. No, Avery's a great person. I met her in Indianapolis at the NRA thing, and we actually hung out all for 2 days, I think, between me and her husband and the guys we were hanging out with. She's in Air Force. She's in the Air Force, active duty, but she's also a firearms instructor that goes around and just teaches people. I don't know all about her advocacy, but I know that she's in it to win it. She's part of the DC project, and she's really trying to make a difference. And when she retires in, I think, 4 more years, she's going to be a force to be reckoned with down in Florida or wherever she decides to move when she gets out. So that's just supporting someone that's in on advocacy now as part of her, the thing she do. She firearms instructor, mom, wife, and now Second Amendment advocate. And I don't think it's going to slow down. So yeah, supporting her is just getting in on the ground floor of someone who's going to be killing it soon.
Yep. Yeah. And thanks for the great description. I'll just add that I had an opportunity. She does a live broadcast, podcast, whatever you want to call it, on the YouTubes. Well, it used to be Fridays. I think it's Thursdays now. But anyway, at one point when she was doing these live shows, she had done a free, like if you show up, it's available, orientation type of firearms instruction. And she broadcast that. And I'm not going to, I know I've been to a lot of firearms instruction. I've been to a lot of firearms classes, and I've seen the gambit and her ability, Skip's ability to get information across is something to be experienced. She's got something about being in the Air Force. There's just something about people in the Air Force. They just seem like they've got it down. She's got this ability to get information across, but not in a robotic way. She adds some personality to it, but it's really good. It's good info. And without, some people know they've got good info, and it's almost like they're letting you in on a secret. She just has such a comfortable way of getting it across. Like I say, I watch a lot of training, and I'm most often not that impressed. I was utterly impressed. Skip is an amazing instructor. I really think she's cool. Okay, so she's not here, but she's super busy, like you said, in the Air Force and doing all the firearms stuff, and a mom, so doing her thing. And she's doing stuff in the media. We just had to deal with again, we're all a bunch of dudes here, so we don't really have to deal with this in the same way, but she had her picture taken and used, and she's having to deal with the echo of that. And again, I don't know, some people, we may have dealt with that or not, but I don't know if we're ever going to be able to experience it the way, someone who's trying to do all the things she's doing and then have something that she tried to put out there, used, not really against her, but just used without her authorization, right? And that's just got to be frustrating. One of those things that would work against you wanting to keep doing this stuff. So next would be KD. wants to tell us about Katie.
KD, she's a beautiful woman and really hot chick. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm just joking. Kevin's an awesome dude, man.
Yeah, he couldn't be here tonight because he has a jazz, tap, and hip hop class.
Jazz hands. Kevin's a great dude, man. We've been bumping into each other off and on for a while now, and we got to spend time together during this train and learn event down in St. Louis last year. That was like 4 days of training and hanging out with Kev, but we've been online together. He has no other choice firearms training, which of course he's a great firearms instructor, but he also has Aiming for the Truth, his community outreach that not only talks about the Second Amendment, but all your rights, and actually talks to men about how to be men, how to be fathers, how to be that rock, that foundation for your family. I mean, it's a lot bigger than firearms. He likes to say he's not a Second Amendment guy. He's a civil rights guy. Kevin does a lot of good work. He debates on the national stage. He's been on multiple shows that people have seen, NRA TV, stuff like that. But he's just a force to be reckoned with. And if you have him on the show, you better chop off more than half an hour because Kev's getting warmed up at 30 minutes. I had him on my show, and I think we went for 2 hours interview. And I don't cut my interviews because I don't like doing that. But it was really worth listening to. Love the guy, man. And him being part of this project and getting something, that's great. He also has his own handgun line called The Truth. And him, myself, and Maj are two of the ones that I know definitely talk about the racist history of gun control and how it started and how it still affects us today. And it's just great because it gives people a part of American history that they don't know about. And a lot of people are stunned because they didn't teach it in school. And we talk about systemic racism. Well, we can show you how that worked and how it still works today. And it's just out there. Understand, anybody can be marginalized, regardless of your race, religion, or whatever. They can marginalize you and make you a victim of gun control, doing it for your own safety. So he teaches about that too. So great addition to the project. Glad he's on board.
Yep. I don't know if anybody wants to throw in there, but yeah, the train and learn. It's amazing. New direction, bringing together instructors and content creators to improve both of their skills, share their skill sets, and then get them together for multiple days so that you have the opportunity to hang out overnight and really bond. That's something that's, well, again, it's unique. It's new in the industry. The Aiming for the Truth aspect is insane. I totally forgot. I'll edit the campaign to put in there the truth, because his line of firearms is, again, something that's cutting edge. Nobody's really, they've had commemorative stuff before, but this is more of like an educational, inspirational type of thing. And when you talk about KD's ability to like bring up the roots of gun control and stuff, he does it in such a way that, yeah, you get mad at your school for not bringing up the stuff that he's, able to get across in like either a quick TED Talks type of thing in a stage or in a video or something. But yeah, he's definitely, again, the kind of thing we need, right? People that are going to shake up the box, quote unquote, so that people realize that we're all outside the box.
Speaking of box, he's probably one of the coolest handgun boxes in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, now that I'm thinking about it, I think he wants to do the NOC logo, but now wouldn't it be cool to do like his handgun in a PVC like people do?
Mean something like this?
Yeah. Yeah, but his is, that's not his, is it? His is
No. Yeah, it's red and black. I think it would be really cool. It's up to him, but dude, I think that'd be a great idea.
Like I say, nothing's final yet. The way that it'll work is everybody's going to give me their art. Once we have a chance to kind of put our heads together and think about it. But the goal here is to get each of the organizations something that works for them. So the logos you see here are completely just placeholders at this point. Clover's is, we played with that last year, making it a surprise when you get it kind of thing. So we might do that with some of these, but these are not necessarily the designs. We'll know the designs closer to the end of the project for sure, but right now we still have a bit of wiggle room. We're still playing with getting everybody's art together here.
Yeah, you got to get Liberty Doll up on there.
Yeah, I've kind of already talked to her about the art and the situation with, her art is, we figure it's either going to look awesome or not. So we're going to try to get that art in as soon as possible so we get an idea in case we got to make a change or something. Next up is Riding Shotgun with Charlie. And again, we've got a lot of people in here that are big groups, but then also individuals that do interviews. Clover, you want to do Charlie? Talk about Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie's amazing, man. He, I don't know. I mean, it's unique. I mean, I can kind of tell his story a little bit because I've heard him tell it so many times, it seems like. But yeah, Charlie is a music teacher or whatever, and started out doing some, I don't even know like a music grams or something, almost, or something like that. Gun grams. Yeah, that's what he called them. And which is pretty cool, doing those by request. And then he had this idea of doing interviews, kind of like the carpool karaoke was, where get somebody in the car and drive. And he's been focused on mainly the 2A community, the firearm community. People, and I mean the list, you go over to his channel and check it out and everything. He's on all kinds of podcast platforms as well, because I've helped him with some of that. But the list of people that he's had, including myself, is a list of rock stars. I mean, it's amazing in the 2A community, and like I said, the firearm community, with the amount of people. But it's a real casual, candid conversation. And Charlie is, I mean, he's just a natural character. That's what I love about Charlie. I mean, he's got a great sense of humor. I mean, he's a cut up. He doesn't take himself too seriously at all. And it just seems like, every one of those episodes is unique because, he sort of instills the same type, cut up attitude and just having fun with it, with every guest that he's got in there. And some of these guests that you see, I mean, you see them straight laced and giving speeches and a lot of this other stuff on a normal basis, right? They're on a rally stage, or, whether they've got a channel or a podcast or whatever, and they're always, semi-serious, and, you never see them kind of in that environment where they're just laid back and relaxed and having a good conversation. So it's really interesting. And, he could do a lot more. And I know that, talking about the patch batch and the projects and everything here, and I just got back, I had to step away. So hopefully I'm not doubling up on some of the stuff we talked about, but, potentially this can give Charlie some resources to get out. I mean, I know he's wanting to do kind of a cross country trek across the top of the United States, and the stagecoach tour, I think, or something like that. Stagecoach across America, as he calls it. And he's wanting to get around to, to some different places like that and do some things. But, that requires funding. And I mean, I think all of us on this panel have traveled and went to events and done things, and it's not cheap. And it's not like he's out there. He doesn't really, promote or have a lot of mechanisms and things like that in play. And it's amazing with what he's done so far. Blogger of the Year, which I think that's the only award they have in the realm of podcasting and stuff like that. But, do want to mention that at the Gun Rights Policy Conference this last year, he was Blogger of the Year. So, people are definitely taking notice and appreciative of what he does. And like I said, it's amazing what he's done so far. And thinking about if we could get people behind him and he's got the motivation, and he's definitely got the niche and the way he does it and all of that down. But if we could get behind him with some resources, what more he could do, it's the sky's the limit with Charlie. It's amazing.
Charlie actually and I have spoke on the same panel during the New Jersey Second Amendment Educational Conference, and it was cool. And then, but he was out there, man. He came down to Jersey to be a part of it, and I appreciate that because, I mean, this is a Second Amendment conference in New Jersey. It's the only 2 or 3 that ever happened, and he was part of it. Plus, he actually had to, if you're talking about funding, He actually had to upgrade his car when he interviewed me because there was no way I was getting in an economy car and doing an interview. And it's one of the funniest things I ever seen is me in a full size SUV, and it still looked like I took up 3/4 of the vehicle. So that was funny to me. I laughed all the way through it. But it was a good interview, man. Charlie's a good guy, and he's getting it done pretty much on a shoestring. I mean, doing interviews and just mad hours driving between places to pick people up and do the adventure and have the questions. And I was actually kind of blessed to be on there, man, because he has a lot of 2A heavy hitters, heavy lifters, as I'll call them. 2A heavy lifters are all over his show, man. And if you want to get behind and actually see the face of some of the Second Amendment advocacy groups, they're on his channel.
Yeah.
And I think
Charlie's
that's a good thing.
Charlie's a good dude, man. He's a personal friend of mine. The first ever state rally I ever hosted. I mean, you can imagine hosting a rally at the State House, first time you ever done it. There's a lot of nerves in there. And Charlie was one of my he was willing to speak. As we all know, Charlie loves to get in front of a crowd. So he was one of my speakers, helped that day go off flawless. The first time we ever met each other, it's a funny story. We were both members of GOAL in Massachusetts, which is our state Second Amendment advocacy group, Gun Owners Action League. And I don't really get a chance to go to a lot of the meetings just because family life is crazy. So I'm sitting down and he comes up to me and I'm thinking, hey, that's the gun gram guy. And he goes over and says, hey, you're the guns and gadgets guy. And I'm like, you're the gun trumpet guy. And we just hit it off after that. He's a great, solid dude. He goes to all the rallies. He'll speak if you need a speaker. And I was lucky enough to be in the Charlie tour as well on his show. So solid guy, definitely worth all of us getting behind because he can definitely get the people we all want to hear from in his car, definitely. And the stories that come out are amazing.
Well, I'll be honest. I had to carjack him to get on, but I guess I wasn't high enough on his list, so I had to do a carjacking. But it worked. It worked. So I was blessed to be able to talk to him.
I think one of the advantages of his show is you actually get to meet the 2A advocacy people, so you know where your money's going to. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You get to know a little bit behind the blurb or behind the headline of the people that are running it. I mean, Anthony Calandro was on. He had from Gun for Hire, who's also now an NRA board member. Got to actually listen to what he had to say, and I think that's important, man. If you want to be part of this movement, get to know the people behind it. And Charlie's riding shotgun with Charlie is one of the easiest ways to do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's legit, and that's something that you guys haven't hit on yet. Everything you mentioned, though, is dead on. What he's creating, though, is Clover said, is he's doing this on a love of doing it basis. There's no goal at this where he makes money. There's no payoff with his strategy, although his personal satisfaction, what he's offering the community is priceless, right? But what he's doing, like Tony alluded to, is he's getting 30 minutes or 45 minutes with the people. And number one, there's the filter that the unscrupulous, the exploiters are never going to get in the car with them, right? They're just not going to be able to hang. So right there, you've got an idea of who's legit, but he's recording, he's archiving the people. I've done a lot of work a bit of work into the history of our Second Amendment, right? And you look back at the people that, like, let's say, created the NRA, or the people that were in the Old West, or the people that were even somebody like, not too long ago, affecting different things. We don't know who they were. We know nothing about them except for a couple of paragraphs in Wikipedia. And maybe you could read a book by some scholar and get a really good idea of them, but you'd have to read that book, right? Maybe somebody does a video review of that book, but that's about the closest we'll ever get to knowing those human beings. Like you just said, though, Tony, you get a half an hour, 45 minutes of joking around and really getting to know these people. It's insight that, number one, it needs to be recorded. These people are doing stuff that'll never make them fame and fortune. So this is recording who those people are, right? The humans that those are. But it's also making a palatable opportunity for those new people, all those new shooters. If we were new shooters coming in after Y2K, what was there to figure out what's going on? Maybe you could buy some magazines at a store and you could look at some of the authors of those magazines and maybe you could kind of figure out who a community was. It's not like that anymore. You've got YouTube, you got all these different social platforms. So yeah, this is definitely like the Yelp or the Google reviews of, you know, the 2A individuals and the people that run these organizations. Yeah, and we'll know so much more about them. We'll have such a more interesting presentation, I guess, to the new shooters because of Charlie. And yeah, he's in a position where, like everybody, everything's gone topsy-turvy. Like Clover said, he's a music teacher. He was talking about it. I think we were off there. He was talking about it. I don't think I'm saying anything I shouldn't. You know, that it's real difficult to coordinate a music session over the internet with the lag and everything. We're not to the point where they can just do regular music classes. So it's going to be really difficult for him to do that. I'm not saying the world should have one less music teacher. I understand the value of being a music teacher, but I'd certainly like to be able to see something change where Charlie can do this more full-time, do this as you know, an element of our Second Amendment culture. Because think about it, he's done 74 videos at least over on his YouTube channel. I have 130 in my list. Some of mine are dead, but you know, Charlie could do interviews with people that knew him, knew the people that have died, but he's still got hundreds of more living 2A people he could interview. So that's years worth of content for him, plus all the new people that are going to come online. Let's see, if we go past Clover, we get to Liberty Doll. Imagine Jared's the one to tell us about Doll.
Yeah, good friend of mine. Awesome person. She's very, very libertarian. She has a channel that focuses on our civil liberties, and she's also a 2A advocate as well. I'm still working on her to come shoot with us, but that'll happen soon. But she's doing good, man. Her channel is blowing up as people are starting to realize that, you know what, it's our freedoms and our liberties are actually in our hands. They always have been, but last generation and a half or two have been lazy. So she gets a whole bunch of stuff out there. Excuse me. And her twist is that she always does her presentation on the side of liberty. So it's pretty cool how she does it. Solid person. Another YouTuber, I guess we call ourselves, that she could definitely benefit from this program to get more eyes on what she's doing. She's over 100,000. I forgot the number, but she's getting it done. She's 178,000. Yeah. So she can definitely use some more eyeballs and support because she's doing the work and is not, like I said earlier, the ladies are where it's at for us to win in the long run here. And she's doing a hell of a job.
And we're not talking like whatever you want to call eye candy cheerleader, or stand on the sideline and giggle and point at whatever the fellas are doing or something, right? We're talking 12 million views. I mean, she's been doing her channel for a little while, but those are fairly recently, I'm assuming. Friday night live show, which is rocking. She's bringing people together to talk about issues and commentary and like alternative interpretation or whatever, and, you know, looking at the news, but then bringing on guests and stuff. But then her videos, her level of production and stuff. And, you know, I don't know, we could guess, I can get into this. She's not here to defend herself or whatever, but I'm all about mansplaining. It drives me to no end to with the strategy of the, you know, get a whole bunch of people to go to a link and then some people buy something. And if they got the cookie on there, then you get a little residual cut. I mean, that works. That's a fine strategy when you've got waterfalls of views and stuff. But when we're talking 2A, it's really difficult for those strategies to be effective. And I'd much rather see collaboration, see all kinds of different strategies come together. There's platforms like Patreon. Liberty Doll uses other platforms besides Patreon, even like Bitcoins and stuff. So she's got stuff that she can bring to the mix. There's people that do blogs and stuff that, you know, don't use anything like that. They go with direct subscriptions, more like a PBS type of thing or something. So there's different strategies that we can all use. And that's where I'd definitely like to see Liberty Doll and Charlie too, like we just said. But imagine if she didn't have to think about the financial side of it. And ideally, once we all become a little bit more aware, every one of us, the audiences, the content creators, the industry, once we all become a little bit more aware of the financial stuff that we're all supposed to be embarrassed to talk about, even though we're capitalists, once they figure out that what it would take to let Tony work full-time at his concept and franchise it to other states and ranges, what it would take for Charlie to be full-time, what it would take for Liberty Doll just be able to devote her time to whatever she's passionate about and making the videos to the level she wants. That's a drop in the bucket to what industry pays right now. And, again, without getting too much into it, they spend a lot of money to put out a lot of ads to hope that a couple of people filter down and buy one or two things. And that's fine, but it's not the only way we can do things. And I'd really like to create enough of a splash with all this that we show the industry that there's some ways that they could come tap each of these individuals on the shoulder and say, what would $1,000 a month do for you? What would $10,000 a month do for this group? And trust me, that's nothing compared to what the industry's spending right now to try to get us to buy multicam instead of, whatever, woodland camo.
I'll tell you too, when she does a video, now that I've been in the game for a couple of years, she works harder than anybody I've seen in the research and the behind the scenes on one video. I always tell her, I'm like, just do like me, just turn it on and go and just talk. But we're total opposites like that. She's extremely prepared. She for a 3-4 minute video, she literally does like a week's worth of prep. So this could definitely help her because she busts her hump on it.
Love it. And that's the kind of thing I wouldn't even thought about, but you're right. I'm more about whatever, get it done. Who cares what it looks like? But that's not, number one, the only thing that's important to people out there. And I suspect she doesn't put as much time into it as we think. I suspect she's probably super capable and she's using tools that make it effective for her, right? So that's, again, I think that inspiration to the next generation of anybody who's making 2A content, right? Yeah, let's see. I definitely want to see Liberty Doll be as successful as possible. What do we got next? I think that's about it. Otherwise, we got GunTube. I guess we could talk about GunTube. It's a pro 2A video hosting platform. Mike put it together a couple of 3 years ago already, I think. And he was involved in the project last year. And of course, having alternatives to the YouTube, the thing that we're broadcasting on right now is valid. But having a backup or a place to put things like a mirror is also useful. Mike, unlike some of the other video hosting platforms that are focused on 2A, is looking forward. He's looking at streaming and having conversations like this. We're doing this one on a software package based out of Canada simply because I'm an idiot and I should have done it on the GunTube, but I didn't. But yeah, GunTube is very much like this platform we're using out of Canada, except that it's free and it's hosted in North Carolina or South Carolina by Mike. So, different Mike, by Night Strike. So, yeah, GunTube is a platform. If you haven't checked it out, we encourage you to do so. It's no different than using a YouTube or a Facebook or a GunStream or any of the other platforms that are out there. I guess speaking of that, a long time ago, I don't know, it just didn't fit into the flow, but Walt dropped a super chat. Do appreciate that. Thank you. $4.99 is definitely appreciated. That's like lunch, so it's like a whole meal for a day. Thank you. But he asked, keep fighting the good fight. What platforms have led to the most engagement across different backgrounds and opinion for you guys to share 2A? So what platforms have led to the most engagement across different backgrounds and opinions for us on 2A? Anybody?
Yeah, I'll go, I guess. As far as the most, to answer the question specifically, because he says the most engagement across different backgrounds and opinion. I mean, sadly, because it's not the platform of choice for a lot of people, I get it. Sadly, Facebook is where I've got to go for that most engagement of different backgrounds and opinions. I mean, it's got to be hands down for me, Facebook. Now, a question that wasn't asked, but maybe something that was in Walt's mind when he did say this, as far as overall reach and stuff like that, YouTube is still king with that. And that's part of the reason you're watching live on YouTube now, I suspect.
Yeah, I wish I had a bigger platform on some of the other ones. For my channel, it's obviously YouTube, just because of the convenience for folks, I guess. I'm getting there. I mean, one of the things I'm focusing on is growing the other platforms, because we all know that this is probably limited in days for us here on this platform. I'm trying to push the the gun streamer side to get that a little bigger. Still trying to push the Facebook and Instagram. I don't really tweet much. I definitely don't TikTok. But that's another thing that I'm trying. So I'm going to learn that from you guys, is how to boost those, the potential of the other platforms, because I've just put so much effort into the YouTube side.
Now,
Well, I know that one thing that is big for me that I wanted to add on the heels of Jared here is just the podcast side of things. The problem, and Walt's question was framed around engagement and basically difference of opinion. And one of the things that it would be interesting to talk to, like Joe Rogans of the world or something like that, and get some feedback on what they actually see on the podcast platforms as far as engagement, because my engagement there is very low. My views and the reach for what it is, it's no YouTube, of course, but it's great for what it is. But it's just like people absorb that information and you really get no feedback off of it in that realm. It's kind of weird with the podcasting, but it definitely, that's a way to, without a doubt, increase your reach. And the lovely thing about podcasting is, like the stuff you do, Jared, for example, doing a firearms review would be very difficult to do as an audio podcast. The stuff that you do, you could almost just rip the audio from your videos and you're good to go with that. And you put it up on one host, it disseminates out through the RSS feed to dozens, literally dozens of other platforms. So it's a very, very low effort way to get your reach far and wide.
It's a good idea. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, for me, on my YouTube is I just repost my podcast, and I throw up some events like Minuteman Challenge and stuff like that every now and again. I have some reviews, but not many. For engagement wise, I would thought it would have been Facebook, but really it's usually an echo chamber on my Facebook page of people that just reply to me. I get more engagements from different people with different backgrounds and ideas on Instagram than I do on Facebook. Twitter, it's just dead. I mean, I repost my stuff to Twitter, and sometimes I make just post directly to Twitter and then put that on my IG account. That helps. That gets conversations going. As far as YouTube, dude, they're doing something weird with me. I'm not even getting notifications that people responded on my videos. Like, that's what's happening on my YouTube right now.
That is something that's currently broken right now. I'm experiencing that, and lots of other people are as well. So
okay, cool. I had no idea what was going on. I went on one of my podcasts on YouTube yesterday by mistake. I clicked and went straight to it and went, wait a minute, people have been conversing.
Yeah, it's a known issue platform wide. So yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, IG, I'm getting a lot of it. Twitter, you just got to slowly build it. I think no matter what platform you use, consistency is key, and just keep putting it out there on a regular basis, and they'll come to you. My podcast, we were doing one a week, and then our podcast host was hot garbage. Anchor, they for some reason stopped posting my stuff for like 2 straight months. No engagement, no nothing, and all of a sudden, my of course people that were following me dropped off. So I'm back up now. I'm back to the numbers I used to be, which is pretty cool. But it's consistency on the platform. It'll eventually grow if you put in the work.
What do you guys think of this Parler? Has anybody jumped onto the Parler yet?
I'm on there. It's supposed to be the alternative to Facebook for freedom-loving people, and it's supposed to be no censorship for people of non-leftist ideas and angles, I guess. So I'm on there. I think I've posted 3 times, but it's in its infancy. Although I guess they're the number one. If you go to the App Store, they're number 1 for social media apps. So it looks like it could be promising, but the fall is going to be the test.
It's more like a Facebook then, like with different kinds of feeds instead of like Instagram, which is just always pictures.
I'm not that familiar with it. Yeah, I'm still learning it. It's based off of it. I mean, if you look at it as it is on your phone or whatever, it kind of has an Instagram feel where you put up a picture and stuff, but then you can echo people, which is like forwarding or reposting. it's definitely a little bit of a learning curve because it's just different than what we're used to, but it seems promising.
Right on. I think one of the things that I've enjoyed is just having collaborative relationships with other creators is you can, somebody's always going to try the new thing. And then, some people are, somewhere along the spectrum. So you always know that there's people you can chat about and figure out if things are worth pursuing or what. But that way we can have our, at least a presence in all these different platforms, but then also not waste our time, I guess. Like that TikTok, a lot of people jump on it, but they're saying that that's all owned by China or something. Do we community really want to move over to it? That's just a different entity in control of a giant platform.
Well, it sounds like they're about to be banned by the feds anyway, though. Department of, I think it was Department of Defense or whatever. They were talking about, they believe it's espionage through there from China, so they're going to ban it.
Well, I'm going to be retro, and because everybody else wants to jump on a new thing, I'm going to give MySpace a try and see how that works out.
Make sure you use your AOL Instant Messenger too.
That's more of a music platform really now than anything. So you may have to start putting out music, Tony. Just saying.
Well, I mean, we know. I mean, I'm not afraid of new stuff.
Maybe collaborate with Charlie on that one.
Yeah.
Ken Blanchard.
Right. Yeah. Work with Ken Blanchard. He does music. Me, Ken Blanchard, and American Gun Chick can be a super group.
All right, so we went about 2 hours. We're about to hit the 2 hour mark. If we timed it right, we could jump out of here right at the 2 hour for 2A. And thanks everybody for joining us. I'm going to go around and say thanks to everybody who joined us live tonight. And again, appreciate everybody for being patient, I guess, or receptive to the mess up in the schedule this week. We will have another one of these at least. We got about 2 weeks left on the project. We are we're 12%, so we're nowhere near finished or anything. We got a long run. We haven't really described it. I'll bring the thing back up on the screen here, but just so that we actually do a better job of actually describing the project. It's a crowdfunding effort, so the idea is to have a bunch of people participate at a moderate level to accomplish a lot. So what we're going to do is offer 12 patches, one patch from each of these different organizations, in a set for $50. When you buy that set for $50, it'll be shipped to you for free. And then that'll purchase enough patches to give 100 patches to each of the organizations. So in order to, what's that saying? I don't really know the right saying, but give somebody a fish and they eat for a day, teach them how to fish and they eat forever, I guess. So that's the idea here, is to give them some patches and then the opportunity to collaborate with strategies and how to use those patches so that our community gets stronger, these individual projects get stronger, and that we all start working together. Again, there's alternative goals here, and that's for the community to realize that 200 people are going to bring $10,000 together to buy basically like $8,000 worth of patches and then get them all shipped out to 200 something people. Each of these organizations will get a big box in the mail that'll have 200 or have 100 patches in it for them to do as they please. It's an opportunity for everyone involved to realize that the power in crowdfunding is fun and it's pretty neat. I've done a lot of these projects, but I've been involved in even more. It's really neat to throw $1 or $2 at something that's new and creative and different, and to know that you've helped, either somebody's dream come true or something. I don't know if we're talking about people's dreams in here, but certainly give some resource to people that are working on their passions here. But being part of that is fun. So if we can see that the platform is interesting, then hopefully you think of the Indiegogo platform the same way that we think of YouTube as a social platform. Hopefully the same way people are thinking of Patreon as a social platform. It allows people that are interested in being financially part of the next, right? Whatever is next in 2A is being created by the kind of people that we have in this panel, by the kind of people that are on Patreon. So, capitalists, our power is our money. It's our decisions and stuff. Think about how we want to use it, and think about all those, there's 360 million people. Think about all those people out there that don't even know about this. Even if you don't have the interest or the ability to throw $50 at this, by sharing it, if you let this project, get the word out about the project, you never know who you're going to, whatever the word is, like inspire or let know who can throw $50 at it. So in fact, your one link might actually bring hundreds of dollars into the project. And that's part of the goal too, is to just let everybody know that every little bit helps. When we all pull in the same direction, we can accomplish great things. So we were successful last year. I don't remember the pace anymore. I guess we could go back and look at that. But it won't just happen. There's very little things in the world just happen. So we would ask that people help share the project. And with that, I think I'll shut up and let everybody say their goodbyes. Why don't we go in order that everybody showed up? So Clover, you should take us.
Yeah, I want to mention a couple of things. First of all, as far as people finding me and what I do and everything, if you don't know how to do that, then I can't help you. I want to talk about Patreon. You mentioned Patreon, and you use the word platform, and I love that because Patreon gets just beat over the head so much. People go, oh, people are, whatever, e-begging or doing this or doing that, and I can't speak for any other creator. Not going to speak for any other creator, but I work Patreon very, very hard, more than most out there. I utilize the platform to its absolute fullest extent. So I can guarantee you, if you come over there and just follow with no support or support, you're going to get extra content, engagement, and everything else. And hopefully I do that and talk about that to hopefully persuade others that are using the platform to do the same, because just using it to divert money here and there is silly when you have all these resources. And that's what we've been talking about today with Indiegogo and the Patch Batch and everything else is, of course, resources when you have those at your disposal. As far as the Patch Batch, I mean, G appealed, of course, yes, to the idea of, $50, less than $5, you're throwing at these different organizations and can make such a huge impact overall with big things like the DC project we talked about and everything else. So if you're out there and you're looking for, a wise way to invest just a few bucks, I think that this Patch Batch certainly is a way to do that. To appeal to maybe the more what is the word? Materialistic people out there. Just the fact that you're getting a set of patches that you're probably never going to be able to attain any other way than getting into this Patch Batch for less than $5 a patch is pretty amazing. So it's also an opportunity there as well. Gee, thanks for hosting and having me on. Mike, Jared, Tony, great hanging out with you guys, and hope to see you soon.
Always, brother.
And thanks for bringing that up. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, the first 100 get the collector card thing with the number on it. So yeah, if anybody had a collector's set from last year, this is an opportunity to complete that collection or continue that collection. But yeah, like you say, if people decide to just hand these out or whatever, yeah, you might, like what happened last year. We had a copyright issue or whatever, and we had a cease and desist. So one of the patch designs couldn't be sold. So there was no other way to get it, period, except for if you were in on the patch. Hopefully that won't happen this time. We've learned lessons. But yeah, we never know what might happen. I think Tony was the next, or was it Mike? Mike, take us away.
Well, I want to thank everybody here. Thank everybody for supporting Walk Talk America and being in on this. This is really cool. Actually, while we were talking, I was out promoting it on Facebook for my other channels as well. At Walk the Talk US on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can check us out. But just once again, I'm new to this game. I mean, I've been in this industry for so long with Eagle Imports and selling firearms and bringing them to the US, but I really appreciate the love and being included in things like this has been amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, right on, man. And Walt, the guy that threw that super chat out there, he's in California, and he's been offering some interesting videos with perspective on how to deal with the gun prohibitionists based on the number of suicide deaths. So in other words, if you ask them if their goal is to stop deaths and they say yes, then instead of, again, following a narrative that the mom's against, the Bloomberg troops, right? The ones that actually have an agenda to remove firearms possession. But if you're talking to someone who really is concerned about us ending unnecessary death, then we have a much bigger, it's 2/3 of the firearms deaths are suicide. So we have a much bigger portion of the thing that we can both agree on. So we can literally work together. And Walt's had some really interesting ideas on ways to change the conversation from going head to head. You want to take our guns and here's why you shouldn't, to sidestepping that entire issue and pulling is that a jujitsu move on them and just saying, hey, we want to accomplish the less firearms deaths. Let's work together and accomplish that. So if what I'm getting at is, if you've got the time, I'd really like to try to arrange a time for you and Walt and I to get together, and whoever else from the project would like to jump in on that and just talk about specifically that angle where we can use the concept that they're using suicide deaths against us, and how we can, I don't know if the right word is divert, but how we can shift the conversation from the head to head with us and change it to how can we work together towards ending this real problem that we all, and actually save lives. So that instead of us bickering and a couple of people getting rich off of our bickering, instead we actually just start saving some lives and reduce some of these numbers.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your schedule is like, but if we can get together next week, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm around next week. I'd love to talk to anyone who does this. I live this every day. So, I
learn more every time I talk to you. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I agree. I appreciate it. The first I heard about even the concept was a lady that wrote a book, and I heard about that at the Gun Rights Policy Conference in Dallas a couple years ago. And, writing a book and, describing a situation and bringing that out, that's got to be horrible for her. And I appreciate her doing that. But it's just not the same as an advocate who's out there running an organization and decided to literally sacrifice and then do this full time. So I really do appreciate that you're doing it, and represent a lot of people in the process. So now it's Tony, right?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for putting me right after something talking about suicide. Really, thanks. Fucking downer.
You're talking about working on projects to alleviate.
But yeah, man, it's great being a part of something that's bigger than. I guess I'll make a fat joke. That's bigger than me. But it's really important, man, to hit every aspect of the Second Amendment, including saving lives, including the fact that firearms are more than just a tactical Timmy thing that makes you, LARPing. It's not. It's much bigger than that. And you can find me at diversityshoot.com, because I try to hit multiple aspects, because I am a gun guy. I like them all. Shotguns, black powder, ARs, all that stuff. But it's more important to me to get the current gun owners to actually become politically active, and to get the new people that are coming into it to see the divisiveness that they're trying to push upon us is a lie. The Second Amendment and gun owners are every race, gender, creed, religion, sexual orientation out there, and for the most part we all welcome new people regardless of their race, religion, sexual orientation, or even political background. We want you here, and we want you fighting for this right. And I think I look at it as my job to tear down a bunch of the walls, and to make people more comfortable with people, and seeing that we have more in common than we don't. And to grow the Second Amendment that way. And yeah, it is difficult, going around doing these diversity shoots, especially behind Iron Curtain in a place like New Jersey. It is kind of scary when you load your car up with rounds. You know what I mean? Going, okay, I have to make sure I get every round out of this car. Nothing can fall out, or I could risk going to jail for 4 years. And I don't want that to spread to other states, because that's the stress you just don't need as a human being that just wants to exercise a right. So yeah. The patch batch was really cool. I gave a lot of hours away. I think it really needs to be supported, and I think it's even better when the industry supports itself without going outside and trying to beg for help there. We started putting our own money and energy into our civil rights, and I think we will make a difference that way. And again, you can find me on diversityshoot.com. Simon Says Train on Instagram, and the Second is for Everyone on Facebook.
Right on. Thanks, man. Jared.
All right. Thanks again, guys. Humbled to be part of this group, to meet some people in the industry that I only got to see on my screen before. I think the patch is pretty cool because it's going to help people. It's almost like, what makes us successful as a Second Amendment advocacy group is at the grassroots. And what could help make an individual advocate successful is their followers, their grassroots. And this can actually help a lot. And you might not realize it. Like, Clover said, a couple bucks for channels who are, busting their hump goes a long way. It really does. And I want this thing to succeed so much. I bought a complete set. So I'm going to be getting a set too. And who knows? This could be the only Guns and Gadgets patch ever created. Was right from this. So and you can find me. I'm on all of the big things. Just search Guns and Gadgets. And if you're new to the Second Amendment, if you're one of those 3 to 5 million new gun owners, please know that we are here to support you, to get you the information that you need. You desperately need. Make no mistake, we are under attack in this community every single day. And the forces that are attacking us have a hell of a lot more money than we do. So it's imperative that you stay in the know. And that is the focus of my channel, is to keep us in the know. No matter what happens, where it happens, I try to bring it to you. And I also try to help you realize how easy it is to actually go speak to a representative and how to get your thoughts across. And it's key because they don't know what we like. They don't know how we see things. Because unless your rep is out there shooting with you or carrying every day or taking firearms classes, all they know is what they're told or what they read. And it's key that we learn how to talk to these folks and let them realize that we aren't, the scary people that Bloomberg makes us out to be. That we're just like everybody else, except we've realized that our safety is paramount. And when seconds count, police are minutes away. And that's the difference between us and them is. We value something a little more than they might not value, but have more knowledge about. And that's the whole thing about my channel is knowledge. So Guns and Gadgets on YouTube and the Instagram and Twitter, and my Facebook has been hacked twice in a month. But I think with the help of my buddy John Crump, I think we've got it locked down this time, I hope. But yeah, they're trying to stop us too, no matter how.
Well, dude, I'm sure you get thanked a lot, but I want to take a second to thank, again, I don't know what to call it. You're the people that you use for info and the people that, know that they can get info to you and you can get it distributed kind of thing. I'm sure some of that goes unnoticed and unacknowledged. So I want to thank them. And then again, we got 300,000 subs or something.
250 something.
Well, whatever. It's rounded up to 300,000. It's growing. And it came out of nowhere. Like I say, you and them gave me faith in YouTube as a platform again. It had basically been going down a cookie cutter, like a recipe route. And again, you didn't, there's no way to just throw $50 and get that number. That's from a bunch of people who appreciated what you're putting out there. And like you say, that comes, it's not like you make up the stuff out of thin air. That comes from a dedicated effort of a bunch of people. So thanks to everybody in your whole like thing that you've created over there. And yeah, awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I don't know what else we can say. I want to thank again the people that show up live. That's, I think, one of the funnest parts about the platform, YouTube. Can't wait to start, getting this kind of crowd or the kind of crowds that we see on YouTube over on something like guntube.org or Gunstreamer. I guess that's one of the things I wanted to say. Gunstreamer was a member of this thing last year. I didn't know. I hadn't been able to contact them, and we had a little hiccup there. As I was putting this together, I wasn't certain about Gunstreamer. Otherwise, they probably would have been in. Well, I'm sure they would have been interested, and they would have been in the project. But 12, it's complicated enough. So if for some reason or when we max out and we start going over, Gunstreamer will be on the short list of organizations that we reach out to if we are able to do more than the 12. But yeah, Gunstreamer is, let's take a second and just mention from last year, great option for 2A hosting. And again, not just a duplicate of what YouTube's putting out there, but getting just a filtered version. People so often refer to the platforms that are Pro 2A as echo chambers. And I guess if you just want to look at everything as like cut and dry, then maybe, but there's so much more to it. And the people that are coming on board, all these new firearms owners, they're going to encounter a lot of stuff. And when they see the variety and the diversity of stuff that you're offering them, Jared, with your projects, with the awareness of things that's going on in different states. I mean, there's some valid efforts going out there, but usually they're focused on the state they're in, right? And that's fine, but you're able to just get so much farther beyond that, that again, I can't even imagine coming in as a new gun owner now. It's just such a different environment because of the work that Jared and others are doing. You're just, you're bringing people into they're not in a dark room with no windows anymore. When we all started as gun owners, we didn't even know what the Second Amendment hardly was. I don't think you can become a gun owner now, and you have to definitely walk around Second Amendment issues. You'd have to be aware of them and intentionally, not pay attention to them at this point, I think. And then something that Tony was saying with I think the one thing that we're probably missing on the list is like an intentional liberal thing. Like there's the Liberal Gun Owners Organization out of California. It's just that they kind of have their stuff put together and they already have a patch. So they were on the list and we considered them, but as we kind of chatting off air and stuff, they kind of already had their stuff together. So I think with the diversity of the CCDL, I suspect there's probably some liberals in there. And then of course the DC project, like we've been saying, there's such diversity in there. I'm sure there's hardcore liberals in there, right? Or I don't know, whatever they consider themselves hardcore or whatever. But that's, I think, the one thing we're lacking on. But whatever, we can't do everything. Right? But we're certainly willing to welcome them in, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, with that, I think that's long-winded enough. We will say thanks again to everybody. We'll say thanks to the people that didn't get to show up today. But I'm going to just end it here with our friend Charles in Heller out of Tucson, and we'll have another one of these in, I think, a week on a Wednesday next time.
Guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.